We have somewhat of a celebrity with us. She's certainly a celebrity around Browning Associates, and her name is Libby. And thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us what brought you to Browning and your experience.
Like, I was really missing this sort of key value that you get out of connecting good people with good people. I always thought that it was somewhat of a waste of time, or, how's that going to actually lead to anything? And you would not believe the stories I could tell you about these remarkable connections that I've made. I mean, networking is like trying to uncover a connection that you had no idea that you were even looking for, really. There's these remarkable overlaying of our lives that we don't give ourselves credit for probably having with just about everybody we meet. What you really need to do is to make an organic connection with something that interests them, that interests you. And meanwhile, your head is just spinning, like, who can I connect them with? Who can I connect them with? And I find myself doing it so naturally now that I almost feel like I have to kind of hold back. Like, let me just give you one or two at a time. Because I was going to say, really, my sort of foray into networking didn't start until I got with Browning Look. And when Browning first said, you're going to have to network, I mean, I could have croaked. I was like, that is horrible. Like, I don't want to network. I was like, I don't want to do that. What I decided to do, and it was partly your influence on this, Melissa, you were really good about just saying, look, you just got to make networking yours, right? Whatever is authentic to you, the best way you can network is to be yourself authentically. Hear that somebody wanted to talk to me. I wasn't really sure why, but then I thought, well, what I'll do is just try to make a real connection with them, not so much about their job or where their interests lie professionally, but what's the sweet spot? Like, what's something that we can draw on, right? So when I came to Browning, I wasn't really in a good place. And so the first thing I had to do was to get the talk tracks out of my head, right? The ones that say, oh, I must not be good at my job. I haven't been able to click with this company, and da-da-da-da-da. And what I had to really do was to quiet that and say, okay, but that's in the past. Where are we going from here? Because I can find my people. I just need to look in different places. And I think that's what Browning allowed me to do on a much bigger scale, was to find people all over the country, and in some cases in other countries, who were a lot more like me and a lot more in tune with the way that I approach my business and the way I approach my life and what I wanted out of my life. And I felt like that was really a better part of the experience, I think, than any other, even though going into it, I was dreading it.
In the beginning, everybody has this misconception of really what networking should be, right? Relationship building. People forget about that. They forget that there's a human element to it.
It all boils down to relationships. I've said this 100 times if I've said it once, which is, companies don't hire people, people hire people. You need to know more people. That's the name of it. You need to know more people, and you need to believe that the best way, in a lot of ways, to get something as valuable back is to give something valuable to them. So walking into a networking cold call, if you call it that, thinking through like, well, who can I introduce them to? Who can I connect them with?
We're talking to clients every single day about this, but you were an actual client who took these tools and put them into use. You utilized everything that we gave you, and you're a testimony to it really does work. When you are framing your conversations for relationship building, it really does work. And when people hear it from an actual client or a former client, it hits differently.
You talked about learning to slip into your authenticity. And if you could sort of rewind the clock and really feel into what that meant for you, I'd love to sort of put a magnifying glass on that.
I allow the question or the conversation to have sort of that moment where I say, I'm just going to be myself. I would love to take credit, but it was really sort of Melissa, it's like I was a 2-year-old in the deep end, and she wanted me to learn how to swim to the side. And she said, okay, here we go. And she just punts me into the water.
If you were talking to a client who may be brand new, maybe they're just learning how to network, maybe it's been a couple of weeks and they're really uncomfortable with this networking process, what advice would you give them going forward? Because, you know, you were obviously in that spot too, where you were like, I don't know about this networking thing.
I remember you again, my fabulous coach, said, we've got this guy in Chicago who is in IT, in cybersecurity, and he wants to talk to you. And my first question to you was, why? I said, I'm in Charlotte, own a computer, and I can spell cybersecurity. Like, I don't know what it is. It sounds really, really cool, but I can guarantee you there's no way I'm going to understand what he's talking about. And you said, Libby, it's not about what he does, it's about who he is. And then the other thing that you really shared with me was, and go large when you ask for a connection. Like, don't ask for a connection for the exact job that you really think you want. Go big category, right? Just ask him if he knows someone in healthcare. And I tell people that way you can then start narrowing your focus, right?
Right.
You start off with this broad topic. The person in healthcare IT might know someone who is, for example, in medical device. And then medical device might know somebody who's looking for an OR rep. But you don't start with the first one being what you want. You start with the first one just being, I mean, the big universe of IT, the big universe of supply chain, the big universe of anything, right? You know, eventually you're going to feel like, gosh, this is second nature. But we never start off with a lot of things in our lives as second nature.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime. It was a pleasure.